Hello everyone, welcome back to Twilight Gems. Today I'm taking a look at the Anne Stokes Gothic Tarot, published by Fournier in Spain and illustrated by the incredibly talented fantasy artist Anne Stokes. If you're familiar with fantasy art, chances are you've seen Anne Stokes' work before. She's known for her detailed depictions of dragons, angels, fairies, wolves, vampires, and other mystical creatures. Her artwork has become iconic with the fantasy and gothic communities, and this tarot deck brings that artistic style into the world of tarot reading. As I flip through the cards, you'll notice right away that this is a complete 78 tarot deck based on the traditional Rider-Waite system. That means readers who already know Rider-Waite symbolism can transition into this deck quite easily because the structure and meanings remain familiar. Even though the artwork has been re-imaged through Anne Stokes' unique Gothic fantasy lens, one of the things I appreciate about this deck is that it manages to be dark and mystical without feeling intimidating. Sometimes Gothic-themed tarot decks can become overly gloomy or difficult to connect with. This one strikes a nice balance. There are certainly shadows, mystery, and darker themes present, but there is also beauty, strength, wisdom, protection, and transformation throughout the imagery. And as you look at the cards, pay attention to the incredible amount of detail Anne Stokes is known for creating artwork that tells a story. Many of the images feel like scenes from a fantasy novel. You can spend quite a bit of time studying individual cards and still discover new symbols and details you may have missed before. Dragons appear throughout the deck and often symbolize power, wisdom, guardianship, and personal transformation. Angels represent guidance, hope, and higher awareness. Wolves and other animals add layers of instinct, loyalty, and intuition. These fantasy elements give the deck a distinctive personality while still honoring traditional tarot themes. The major arcana is particularly striking in this deck. Cards such as the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, Death, the Devil, and the World all receive dramatic visual interpretations that make them memorable and easy to connect with emotionally. The artwork often emphasizes personal transformation, making this a deck that many readers enjoy using for self-reflection and personal growth readings. Another thing that stands out is the color palette. You'll see rich blues, deep purples, silver tones, moonlit scenes, and dramatic contrast between light and darkness. These colors help create the deck's atmosphere and contribute to its Gothic aesthetic without overwhelming the imagery. For collectors, the Anne Stokes Gothic Tarot has become one of the more recognizable fantasy tarot decks of the modern era. It appeals not only to tarot readers, but also to collectors of fantasy art and Anne Stokes enthusiasts. Even people who don't actively read tarot often appreciate the deck simply as an art collection. If you're new to tarot, this deck can actually be a good starting point if you're drawn to fantasy themes. Since it's based on the Rider-Waite system, there are plenty of books, guides, and resources available to help interpret the cards. The familiar structure makes learning easier, while the artwork keeps the experience visually engaging. And one thing I often mention when looking at tarot decks is whether the artwork encourages intuition. And in my opinion, this deck does that very well. Even before consulting a guidebook, many of the cards communicate a feeling or emotional message through their imagery. That's often a sign of a strong tarot deck because it allows the reader to build a personal connection with the cards. And as I continue flipping through the deck, you'll probably notice how consistently the artwork is presented. The deck feels cohesive from beginning to end. Every card belongs to the same visual world, which creates an immersive experience, whether you're reading for yourself or displaying the cards as part of a collection. The cardstock and production quality from Fournier is also worth mentioning. Fournier has a long-standing reputation for producing quality tarot and playing card decks. The cards generally handle well, shuffle smoothly, and hold up nicely over time when cared for properly. For collectors looking at the second-hand market, condition is always important. Complete decks that include all 78 cards and the original booklet tend to be more desirable than incomplete sets. Original packaging and overall card condition can also influence value. What I think makes this deck endure all these years is that it appeals to multiple interests at once. It's a tarot deck, a fantasy art collection, a Gothic-themed collectible, and a practical reading tool all in one package. That's not always easy to achieve, but Anne Stokes manages to bring all of those elements together successfully. And as we come to the end of this card flip, I'd love to know what you think of the artwork. Do you enjoy Gothic and fantasy-themed tarot decks, or do you prefer more traditional styles? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me here at Twilight Gems. If you enjoy tarot, collectibles, vintage treasures, and unique finds, consider subscribing for more decks, showcases, and card flip videos. Until next time, take care and thanks for watching.